Hello, Assalamualaikum, and good evening to everyone. So we are group for solar thermal application in greenhouse for principle of heat transfer. First of all, I'm going to introduce our group member, me, Solihin, Najmi, and now my group member Azmil, Megat, Shahrin, and Mustaqim. So the topic that we have chosen is solar thermal application. Okay, next slide. For the content of this experiment, first of all, we are going to introduce the topic, the objective of the objective, a few theories to overview the the topic, and solar greenhouse system. About the solar greenhouse system, the heat transfer, the calculation for heat transfer in the system, advantages and drawbacks, and last will be conclusion. So the first one for introduction, one of the most the greenhouse is one of the most profitable sectors since it has a very high output, which is 10 to 20 times higher than outdoor horticulture. So this is the benefits. Number one, for the greenhouse, the operation of greenhouse is because of the greenhouse effect, giving the ability for out of seasons growing, because we can control the temperature and the condition used to grow plants in order to reach better quality and protect them against natural environmental, because it is inside the controlled environment, and such as wind or rain. One of the best ways to provide good condition for crops is the development of accurate greenhouse models for inside environment control and prediction. Okay, so this is the overview. I'm going to pass the presentation. Next, the objective. So the main objective of this project, of this report, for the first one is to understand the solar thermal simulation and application in greenhouse. The second one, to identify the calculation involved for temperature and energy balance in the greenhouse. And the last one, to distinguish the advantages and disadvantages of the solar thermal simulation in the greenhouse. All right.
Okay, let's move to the theory. For the theory, this greenhouse is one of the most profitable sector since it has a very high output, which is 10 to 20 times higher the outdoor horticulture. Okay, the diagram that you can see for the theory is the first system, which is employed solar flat plate collectors, and it is installed outside a polyethylene covered greenhouse. So the diagram you can see is there. You can see if you want. For the second system, it is based on the selective observation of solar energy by a heat transfer fluid and employed polyethylene alveolar transparent plant collectors, and it is installed inside a glass covered greenhouse. Next slide. Okay. Seasonal thermal energy storage using paraffin wax as a phase change material, or we call it as a PCM, with the latent heat storage technique was developed to heat the greenhouse of 180 meter square floor area. And the system consists mainly of 5 units. So the 5 unit is, the first one is flat plate solar air collector. Second experimental greenhouse. Third, latent heat storage or LHS unit, and data execution unit, and the last one is heat transfer unit. So there's basically 5 units. This is the four types of greenhouse structure. The first one, we have conventional greenhouse. Second, semi-closed greenhouse. Third, partly closed greenhouse, and the last one is ideal closed greenhouse.
Okay, so for how the solar greenhouse system works, as we can see from this figure, basically the solar terms in the solar greenhouse basically means that it utilizes sunlight energy to meet the temperature needed for inside the greenhouse. So basically just keeping the heat high inside the greenhouse. So first, based on the picture, based on the figure, the sunlight um, gives radiation energy inside into the greenhouse, which then a portion of it will be reflects, but a portion of another of the radiation energy will be seep into the greenhouse. But then before going up, again from the greenhouse, it will keep a certain radiation, a certain energy inside the greenhouse. So the greenhouse will be warm and have a high temperature. Besides that, the soil also the greenhouse also utilize the soil inside the greenhouse so that when it absorbs the solar radiation, it can generate heat at night for the plants to survive with high temperature consistently even at night. So in short, the solar greenhouse prevents convection and conduction of the heat of the greenhouse. And furthermore, due to the transparency of the greenhouse surfaces, it will provide more warmer condition for the plants inside, because the surface presented to the because the surface of the greenhouse is presented to the solar radiation band. And in other words, if the plant needed cooling, the greenhouse will provide tubes installed inside the greenhouse for subterranean air circulation. So next slide. So this figure shows the heat or the energy in terms of values. As we can see, as example, 27.7 values that was given by the solar radiation, but then it will repel for 6.98, and the greenhouse will absorb a portion of 20.73, which then gives into the sensible heat and latent heat. But also it provides utilized thermal radiation. So the units for the energy given by this figure is mj per meter squared day per day. So that's all.
Okay, I will explain about the basic temperature calculation in the greenhouse. So mass and energy balance are the fundamental concept equation used to model the various process in any thermal environment. The amount of changes in stored energy will be proportional to the amount of energy produced by internal energy source. Artificial lights, evapotranspiration, and heat generation by any electrical device or human activities are all internal gains in the greenhouse, while solar irradiation is the external gain. X. So elements to be considered for calculation heat and mass transport. So air above and below the screen, crop, heating and cooling net, pipes, roof, screen, and soil. These elements are modeled as lump parameter models believed to be internally homogeneous. Okay, next. So all temperature can be calculated using equation below. So indoor air, crop temperature, soil temperature, indoor side of the roof temperature, and screen temperature can be using the energy balance equation to find the temperature. Next. So humidity is one of the main variable in atmosphere of greenhouse. So typically due to crop transpiration is appear to be high. So high humidity during the crop transpiration. Crop transpiration relies on solar radiation, CO2 concentration, and greenhouse air temperature and relative humidity. So change in humidity and CO2 concentration are measured by means of the mass balance of all type of greenhouse. So the rate of change in CO2 and water concentration within the greenhouse is calculated using the general equation. Next slide. So this is a carbon dioxide mass transfer equation in the greenhouse. So the rate of change in CO2 concentration inside the greenhouse below and above the screen can be using mass balance equation. Next.
So my name is Megat and I will explain on the advantages from the greenhouse. So first, the greenhouse use a solar energy. So we can say that it is a renewable energy because sun will never run out and will naturally replenish on a human time scale, including the carbon neutral sources like the sunlight. Second is the increased energy security because it can shield ourselves from fluctuation in the price of finite commodity and save money. And third is to reduce the carbon footprint because it reduces the fossil fuel dependency when we apply the solar thermal into the greenhouse. And lastly is the environmentally friendly energy because it improves the quality of air and reduces the mitigation of climate change. Next is the drawbacks from the greenhouse. First is the expensive equipment and maintenance costs. Second, it needs to be placed in a high radiation area to operate at maximum potential. Third is they need a large space to build the solar panel. Then it is less efficient during cloudy or winter season. And lastly, it cannot store energy for a long period. For the conclusion, greenhouse are used to grow plants to reach better quality and protect them against natural environmental effects such as the wind or rain. So another benefit is giving the ability for out of season cultivation. However, the investment and energy costs are considerably larger in the commercial greenhouse than any other horticultural sector due to the microclimate control system in the greenhouse. Energy is typically the largest overhead cost in the production of greenhouse crops. Therefore, energy conservation in the commercial greenhouse has been emphasized in recent years in order to sustain cost efficient crop production. So that's all from us. Thank you and have a good day.